Hello YouTube, today I'll show you a Dark World deck profile. I do play the hand loop version, so my main goal is to leave my opponent with one card in hand with the new Grapha fusion to negate any follow-up he might have with those two cards in hand. So yeah, let me show you the deck list. We start with the Dark World monsters. Just for the big guys, two Grapha, that's all you need. So the deck is pretty linear, so your main interaction that you hand loop your opponent is Ceruli effect to special summon itself to your opponent's side of the field. Then Ceruli effect when it's special summon, it makes you discard the Sillva. Sillva, when it is discarded by an opponent card effect, will make your opponent choose two cards from their hand and put it back to the bottom of the deck. So as long as you loop that 2 times, you will leave your opponent with 1 card in hand, and they all have effect when discarded, and some of them are mandatory, some of them are not. But yeah, so Graph effect is you can special summon itself from the graveyard by bouncing a Dark World that was on the field to the hand, and you have a rank 8, so that's why we play Coach King, because making Coach King in this deck I think is easier than any other deck. So yeah, 2 Graph. Also, Graph effect is a mandatory effect. When it's discarded, you get to target a card on your opponent's side of the field and destroy it, and it's mandatory. You don't want to, sometimes you don't want to do it while you gave your opponent the Ceruli, because you have to dig your deck deeper to get to your second Ceruli, so you should keep a mind on that. Next, 3 of the new guy, the Reign-Beaux. So Reign-Beaux has the same effect as Graph when it's in the graveyard. It's a summon condition, it's not an effect, but it's level 7 or lower, so you cannot bounce Graph back to hand, but Graph can bounce the Reign-Beaux back to hand. Also, when it's discarded, you get to search for a level 5 or higher Dark World monster from your deck to your hand. So that's why you play 3 of these, because your searcher, you get to your Graph, and then you can discard Graph, have a Dark World on field, go Reign-Beaux effect, go Reign-Beaux bounce, then Graph bounce, so you have your Reign-Beaux back in hand, so you can discard it again and add your combo piece in Sillva. And speaking of Sillva, of course, to Sillva, like this guy is just when it's discarded, you get to special summon itself from the graveyard to the field. If you discard it by opponent card effect, you get to loop your opponent for 2. Next, the searcher of the deck, 3 Snoww. Of course, when it's discarded, you get to search for any Dark World card, not once per turn, mandatory effect. So yeah, these cards are broken. The new addition, the Genta, made the deck much better, because it's a searcher for the field spell. So you basically discard, and you can add the field spell, the Dark World Gate. Then when this card's banished, you can special summon it, but it has a condition that you can only special summon the Genta only once per turn. So yeah, you just special this if you happen to discard one of the big guys, the Reign-Beaux or the Grapha with the effect of the fill spell. You get to recycle Genta in the hand, because the search effect is not once per turn. Next, the one lonely Beiige, Beanie, I don't know. It's just when it's discarded, you get to special summon it, and it is a level 4 body. You can go for the Garas, so it's pretty cool. Next, 3 Broww. Broww is Upstart pretty much, so you just, when it's discarded, you get to draw 1 card, but when you discard it with Ceruli effect or by an opponent card effect, you get to draw 2, so it's like a pot of greed. So yeah, most consistent and more names, always good. 2 Cerulis. Okay, so you need this and Sillva in your hand to start hand looping, so you need to get to this card as soon as possible. Even works really well with cards like Broww. You just draw 2, you dig yourself deeper. Then yeah, this is for the Dark World monsters. Then for the spell we have 3 gate. Yeah, so with 1 Genta and one of the big guys in hand, you get to resolve this card twice. And I do play Zephyros, so technically you can resolve this card 4 times in a turn if you have such hand that can make it happen. Next, one new is this is the fusion. So it fusion summon the new Graph by banishing from field and graveyard, but if you utilize monsters from your hand, it counts as a discard when they go to the graveyard. So you can trigger your Dark World, your Dangers. It's just so good, and when it's in the graveyard, you get to add this to your hand and discard a Fiend. So that way you have more ways to discard your combo pieces to the graveyard. Next, 1 Archives. Also one of the best cards that was printed in the new structure deck. So you can discard a Dark World monster to boost Bite's level times 100 one of your Dark Worlds on the field. So this is a discard for effect, so you will trigger your Dark World, and then when a card is discarded for the activation of a Dark World effect, you get to discard 1 and draw 2 cards. So you basically activate the first effect, and then right after you activate the second effect, you get to discard 2, draw 2, and trigger the effect. That can go pluses, more even pluses. So this card is really good. And that's it for the Dark World cards. Minimal. I see builds playing 2 of this, but yeah, just 1 is what you need. Next, for the Dark World part, the danger part, it's just 2 Bigfoot, 2 Thunderbirds. You want to play some level 8 to go for your Coach King. Coach King is just draw 3 cards. It's one of the fewer cards that says thrice per turn, so you already know it's good. Next, Nessie at 3 because one of the good ones when they snipe it. 2 Mothman and 1 Chupacabra. So depending on the locals, I know that there are not many tier element player in my local, so I choose to play 2 Mothman over 1 Chupacabra. But if your local has a high count of tier elements, then I suggest the contrary. So 2 Chupacabras and 1 Mothman. And for the level 3s, 1 Snake, 1 Jackalope. Even if they snipe me, you don't miss any effects, so that's nice. Next, 1 Zalamander. This guy is crazy. You get to show him and a Fiend from your hand, and then choose what you will special summon. So most of the time you special summon the Zalamander and discard the other Fiend, which will trigger it. And if it's Snoww, Snoww will search you another combo piece, and so on. So this guy's pretty nice. Also, he has a grave effect. So when a battle is so you're making a battle involving a Fiend monster, you can add this from the graveyard to your hand. 1 Zephyros. So when you already establish the field, or even with dangers, you activate the danger effect, and they snipe Zephyros to the graveyard, a special danger, draw 1. You don't have any other plays, you can just go for Zephyros effect, bounce the danger back, special Zephyros, activate the danger again, and hope they hit one of your combo pieces. So yeah, this is pretty good. 1 card destruction, you gotta play it, it's so good. As I said, in my locals, not many tier element players, so when I draw this, I just resolve it immediately because I know I'm a plus so much than my opponent. And the 1 Lonely Upstart, so we can play 39 cards. And yeah, that's it for the main deck. We go to the extra deck is for links. 1 Masquerena, of course. I played with the Goddess, so I have like a spot removal with Masquerena effect and go to for my Goddess, Underworld Goddess. Mudcracker. Mudcracker is, like, in my opinion, was made for this deck. cannot. The only downside there is it cannot be used as link material the turn it was link summon, but or it cannot be used as link material at all. Sorry, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh players and reading. But yeah, its other effect is you can target one fiend monster in your graveyard, then discard a card from your hand and special summon that will lock you into fiends, but it does prevent you from doing the hand loop because the hand loop monsters are all fiends, so you don't lose much, but your negates like Appaloosa or Searching Deeper with Saryuja. That's the only thing you'll miss while activating her effect. And also the discard is not for cause, so it will trigger your Dark World monster or your danger monsters. And yeah, that's why I said this card was made for this deck. Security Dragon to bounce the Ceruli. When you go Saryuja or Appaloosa in your main monster, extra monster zone, you can special summon this, bounce a monster, and do the hand loop again. One Akashic. Yeah, this is generic and this needs the same type, so I usually go for this. This I use it more when I'm going second and my opponent somehow played under the extra monster zone. But yeah, also you can use this to bounce your own dangers, and this Ceruli you have below the extra monster zone, so it's pretty nice. Phoenix utility, of course, also is a fiend when you're locked into the Mudcracker effect. Saryuja, dig deeper, special summon one of your level 8s that can help you go for easier Coach King. Appaloosa for interaction on your opponent turn. One Underworld Goddess, of course, as I explained it. I use the spot removal with the Masquerena. Next for XZs, one Dugaris, of course, is a fiend. Even if you're locked under Mudcracker's effect, you can still special summon this and draw 2 and discard 1. Utility, Dweller, Bagooska, depending on what you're playing against. This is like cool rank 4 Floodgates. The one Lonely, rank 8, which is a negation, and I chose to play the Hope Harbinger, which is like a spell negate and attack deflection. The Coach King, thrice per turn, draw a card. You don't want to do this card going second though if you plan to OTK, because you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you want to activate this card's effect. And the 2 Grapha, the new fusion from the structure deck. Of course you want to play 2 because the fusion spell will replace itself in a hand over a fiend, which you can then set and use on your opponent turn, and yeah, make 2 of these big boys is 32 with the field. It goes to 35, so it's a pretty big steep. And yeah, that's it for the deck. It's a, at best it's a rogue deck. It breaks a lot. You'll hate it when they snipe the dangers, but hey, you're playing a luck or Reliant deck, so it will happen sometimes. So yeah, hope you'll try this build out, and yeah, see you on the next one.